Today we're going to talk about what to do and what to say when he says that he needs space. And perhaps one of the most burning questions that is forefront in your mind at this time is, if you have someone that says that they need space, do they really mean it? And is that the same as a breakup? Well, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. The bad news is that someone saying that they need space is a pre-qualifier to a breakup from everything that we have seen with our clients. Now, the good news is that there's something that you can do to improve your chances. Now, speaking of your overall chances of getting an ex back, we have put together a special quiz on our website, www.exboyfriendrecovery.com, called the Ex Recovery Chances Quiz. It's a simple 2-minute free quiz designed to tell you what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back. Now, if you want to take that quiz, it's really simple. All you have to do is simply look in the description link of this YouTube video and click on the link you see there. So let's start talking about what a guy means when he says he needs space. So does he really mean it when he says that he needs space? Well, from everything we have seen, yes, in this exact moment, he means it. He means he wants space. But does that mean it will last forever? Well, when I started my website back in 2012, one of the really most interesting aspects about breakups that I sort of thought was someone who says that they need space means it and your chances are gone forever. But the reality was a lot more murky. Often we would see situations where an ex would say something like, "I hate you," or "I don't love you," or "just give me space," or "we need to go on a break," or "we need to break up." And women would take that to heart. But then 3, 4, 5 months later, they would change their mind and say things like, "I'm sorry, I didn't really mean it." So what does this ultimately mean? Well, I think when an ex or a guy who's in the process of breaking up with you says something like he needs space, or "I don't love you anymore," or "I never really loved you," they do mean what they're saying in the moment. But you need to understand that moments and feelings are subject to change as time goes on. Circumstances can change, which can cause our feelings to change. And oftentimes when someone is saying, "I don't love you anymore," or "I need space," they're getting a bit of that grass is greener syndrome. Well, basically the grass is greener syndrome is when they believe that there's someone out there that's better for them. In other words, the grass is greener on the other side. And what I think can cause some of these changed feelings in the future is they actually go out and explore to see if the grass is greener, and if they find that it's not, they realize they made a gigantic mistake. Now, that doesn't discount the fact that an ex who says that he needs space might mean it and their feelings might not change. That is certainly a circumstance that we see happen as well. But I think the important thing to remember is that someone who says that they need space is essentially admitting that they believe that there's someone out there better for them. And in order for them to understand that, they need to explore to see if the grass is greener. But let's dig down deeper and find out if that's the only reason that they say that they need space. In other words, what are the real reasons that someone would say that they need space to you? Well, we've already talked about one with them thinking that there's someone else out there that can better meet their needs, but one of the things we haven't talked about is natty type of behavior. So if you don't know, I'm famous for an acronym that I created called NAT, G-N-A-T, going nuts at texting. It's basically a way of describing how people act after or even during or even a little bit before a breakup, where they blow up their ex's phone with messages begging for them back, or they blow up their partner's phone when they sense something is wrong. In other words, they're just doing all this crazy type of behavior that can kind of turn someone off. And if you notice, some of the people that say that they need space will be actually in the midst of receiving these type of texting or phone calls or sort of insecure type messages from their partners. But of course, that's not the only reason someone will say that they need space. A few weeks ago, I actually called my little brother, who is now almost graduated college, up to see how his life was going. And he shared with me a really interesting story about a girl that he was dating and eventually broke up with. And I found this fascinating because I wanted to understand what was his thought process throughout this entire thing. Why did he say that he needed more space and essentially break up with her? Well, ultimately, he just came to the conclusion that, he didn't feel that they were the best fit on any level. But at the same time, he still stayed with this person for weeks. And that is what I found interesting. I asked him, well, why did you stay with her for weeks when you knew that you kind of didn't really have feelings for her anymore? And he said something I'll never forget. I was too afraid of hurting her. So weeks go by and he knows that he's going to break up with her. He just doesn't have the courage to do it. He doesn't want to see her being hurt. And ultimately, I think it's interesting because she could sense something was wrong throughout the entire period. And this is why I tell women all the time to trust their guts, especially if they're on the verge of a breakup with an ex or a partner. If they feel like something's wrong, if they pick up these little subtle cues that things aren't right, there's something there that they should try to explore. But they often don't want to explore it because they're afraid that if they admit defeat, if they get broken up with, that there's no chance of getting their ex back, or there's no way of reshaping their perception. But they're wrong. Before I tell you exactly what to do if an ex or a partner has said that they need space, we first must talk about if giving an ex space will actually work to get them back. And this may be a hard answer to hear, but most times giving an ex space alone won't be enough to get them back. A lot of you know that I'm famous for being a big proponent of the no contact rule. That's essentially giving your ex space on purpose to make them miss you, but at the same time giving yourself some time to kind of get your stuff together. But the no contact rule alone isn't going to be enough to win an ex back. It takes something more. At the beginning of this video, I mentioned that a lot of the reasons why an ex will say, or a partner will say that they need space is they have a bit of the grass is greener syndrome. They think there's someone out there that can better meet their needs. And oftentimes, the only way that they'll come back is if they feel like they're missing out on something with you. If they feel like they go out and explore someone else or explore another relationship with another person and feel like, you know what, this isn't as great as it used to be with her. Only then do they want to come back because they feel like they're missing out. But there are certain things that you can do. And this is my favorite part of this whole video, to improve your odds of making that happen. So here is exactly what you should do the moment an ex or a partner or a boyfriend says that they need space. Now it's interesting, in preparation for this video, I did a lot of research to even see what some of my peers were saying about this, and I actually have to disagree with most everything that they say. They get a few things right, but in my opinion, saying something like, "That's okay," or "I understand," isn't the best way of approaching the situation. In my opinion, what you need to do is create a paradigm shift. A paradigm shift is doing something or saying something that kind of shines a new light on how you should be looking at a situation. So let's kind of take stock of this situation that you're in. You are in a happy relationship, or you are in the midst of what used to be a happy relationship and on the verge of a breakup. You're kind of comfortable in your position, except maybe the breakup part, and your ex or your partner basically says, "I need space," or "I think we should take a break." That's devastating to hear those words, but simply sitting there and taking it and saying, "I understand," isn't going to create the paradigm shift that we're looking for. No, what you want to do to create a paradigm shift is do something or say something that shines a whole new light on his view of the relationship. So what I would say, instead of "I understand" or "take all the time you need," or being socially acceptable when it comes to someone basically breaking up with you or pre-breaking up with you, is saying, "You know what? I'm so glad you said that. I was actually thinking the same thing. I actually think we need space too." Think of it like beating your ex to the punch. They believe that they're the ones with more power in the relationship. They're the ones basically saying to you, "Hey, back off, I need space." But if you actually can say that to them, or reframe the way that they think the relationship went. It gives you kind of a certain amount of power. It also levels the playing field. The number one mistake I see women make isn't overly texting an ex or even begging for them back. It's the mentality that they have when they actually go into trying to win an ex back or even trying to get over an ex. They put their exes on a pedestal. They feel like he's better than them, and they give him all the power. And that's wrong in my opinion, because not only does it make him feel like he's hot stuff all the time, but it also makes you feel like, you know what, he's better than me. And that's wrong. If you ever want to make him try to beg for you back or ask for you back or even think highly of you, you need to try to knock him off his pedestal. And also you need to do things that make you seem like you weren't so hung up on him, because then the narrative shifts from him thinking, you know what, maybe I had her pegged wrong, as opposed to you thinking, I want him back so badly. Having someone you love deeply say that they need space is very painful, but you saying it to them isn't a way of making them feel hurt. It's a way of you taking the power that your ex or your partner is trying to take away from you. It's about you showing, hey, you know what, you may think you can do better than me, but I can do better than you. And coming at the situation with that type of mentality yields results more often than not. Hey, thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If you haven't already, make sure you check out that quiz I was talking about at the beginning, the Ex Recovery Chances quiz. A simple 2-minute free quiz designed to tell you what kind of chance you have of getting your ex back. Now, all you gotta do is basically look in the description link below this YouTube video and click on that link. It's that simple. Also, if you haven't liked, commented, subscribed, and said all sorts of nice things about me, please do that. You don't have to say nice things about you. Sometimes people say mean things about me and I still respond to them. So say whatever you want. See you next time.